Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Who is Your Audience, presented by Michelle Warren. We acknowledge the contribution of David Chung, our Zoom producer guru, for providing access to his Zoom account for today. Michelle is a communications professor at 3 Ontario colleges. Her passion is helping people communicate effectively. Identifying and understanding our audience is the key step to communicating effectively. Today, we will look at our audience through the communications lens. What information do they need? In what format? How can we effectively prepare and present our information to reach an audience before we meet them? Please join me today to welcome Michelle to help us understand our communication styles. Who is your audience? Michelle Warren.
Thank you very much, Caroline. I'd like to acknowledge the contributions of David as our Zoom host, but also Caroline as our introducer, facilitator, activating facilitator, guru, and welcome everyone. Welcome to this hopefully very fun conference for you on a Sunday morning for Toastmasters District 60. So my name is Michelle, and I teach communications and I coach communications and I do a whole bunch of things around communicating, because in my world I found that sometimes a lot of the headaches that we run into really come from not communicating effectively or not understanding our audience. And I'm very curious about your experiences, and I'm very curious to hear if you have ever had these challenges. So it's an interactive workshop. It's not going to be me talking for an hour. Please feel free to show your video or unmute yourself when I ask, or to type into the chat box and really get everything that you can out of this workshop. And we have lots of slides for you that we'll go through. So here's the first question, and I'm going to ask you, please type these into the chat box. So take a couple of seconds, and I'll talk a little bit about communications as you're typing. So I'm curious, we're curious, and this is to help us understand you, or help me understand you. What communication challenges do you face? Now, it can be anything, right? In Toastmasters, we tend to think about presenting. But I faced communication challenges in sending an email, perhaps crafting a proposal, perhaps preparing a presentation at work or in Toastmasters, and also as an audience member, where I've sat in the audience and heard a speech and thought, I know the person's very smart. I know the person has something to say, the speaker, but it's not resonating with me. It's not reaching me. Perhaps I'm not the target audience. And then I start to question, well, what was it exactly that didn't work for me? And so there are all these components to communicating, right? There's the speaker or the communicator, and then there's the communicatee, which is in this case you, but also me. And there's a continual feedback that comes back and forth. And I'm really curious, is anybody interested? I'm going to ask Caroline to man the chat to keep her eye on the chat function for us. Caroline, do we have any comments on the chat?
We do. And this is from Alex. Gouging just what kind of language to use for different people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely about that. Do you have any? Can you say, yep, and do we have another one?
JD Thomas is being funny this morning. Let me ask my ex.
There you go. And yeah, your ex can probably give you a whole deep dive. Yep, fair enough. Touche.
And Marilyn says personal.
Personal communications. Oh, Marilyn, I'd love for you to say a little bit more about that.
Ruth says crafting my speech for audience I.
Sorry, it's a typo. Crafting my speech for my audience.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for clarifying.
Well, you're in the right place, Ruth. Thank you. That chat function and the typos it makes communication very interesting, actually. This whole virtual. Yep. Sorry, Caroline.
David, our Zoom guru, love to learn from everyone.
Excellent.
And Elsa, reaching an audience with information about a controversial topic.
Oh, that's really interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, there are a whole bunch of techniques that we can look at for persuasive speeches and how to raise controversial topics. And Caroline, do we have somebody else? I see something flashing there.
Marilyn,
Yes.
holding my tongue when the other person won't share talking time.
I thought you were going to say shut up. Share talking time is is a much nicer way of saying it. Absolutely. And also, how can we interrupt people when they're talking? Oh, these are really good challenges. What
David
else?
has one as well, telling a story so that audience can learn together.
I feel like you've given me a whole bunch of different topics for different workshops. Communication, storytelling. Nobody has any issues presenting information, though. Data or information, that can sometimes be a challenge. Yeah, and interpersonal communications can be a big issue. Okay, thank you for all of this. So what we're going to focus on, I wish we were focusing on stories today, but what we're going to focus on is actually looking at our audience and kind of dissecting them a little bit, and then looking at how we communicate, understanding our own style. And this should, I hope, and please, if you have questions, type them into the chat box, and I'm happy to talk later after the workshop. We often communicate in a way that works for us. And I'll give you a little bit more information on that as we go through. But when we look at how we communicate, if there are different types of communicators, we tend to communicate to ourselves. And maybe that's the problem with your ex, JD, that so you would have a particular style and your ex has a particular style, and the two don't necessarily meet. And this can happen in a personal conversation, a work conversation, Toastmasters meeting, convenience store conversation. It's just as if we miss each other. It's fascinating and frustrating and totally workable. So in order to tackle this, we've got 3 areas that we're going to look at today. Well, 2. We'll do a deep dive in 2, and then we're going to give you an opportunity to practice. So to apply the knowledge that you'll learn, we're going to look at the challenge we face as communicators. I'm also going to suggest that that's an opportunity. So the challenge that we face, the tools that are available to us, and then we're going to practice the 2 and see how this goes. The deep dive will really be in the tools section. So what do you think about this statement? Every opportunity, every communications opportunity that comes our way is really an opportunity. Every communication challenge is painful and frustrating and all the rest of it. But if we switch it around and look at it as an opportunity to create and strengthen relationships with others, with ourselves, but with others in order to connect with them, to understand them, and to build our credibility and trust. And as speakers, personal or professional, it's really an opportunity to strengthen others' opinions of us. So to think about perhaps we're a little bit more trustworthy, or we've got something to say, if we can form that connection. So if you disagree with that opportunity stance, I'd love to get a thumbs down in the chat box. But if you agree or think maybe there's something to that, which is possible that you could stick a thumbs up in the chat box. The reactions tab is under reactions. And somebody just, oh, David's got his up. There we go. Ruth, I know you had yours up a little bit earlier. 2 people, JD, thank you very much. Maybe. So it's an opportunity. We can look at it as being a challenge and painful and frustrating, or we can look at it as this is a problem that can be solved. And that's what I challenge you to do. This is your opportunity. So any communications that we do, a speech, let's take a speech because we're Toastmasters, and why not? We have something to say. We have a topic, perhaps we have a purpose. We have things like facts and data and stories. Perhaps we're trying to persuade somebody to our point of view, or perhaps we're trying to tell a story for whatever reason. We might use quotations. We have content, words. And then we have our specific delivery style, which is unique to most of us. We all have our own style. Eye contact, body language, facial expressions, the speed at which we speak, any accent that we might have. Well, we all have an accent, but our accents, our voice, the volume of our voice, it's unique to us. So we have these 2 that we have some level of control over. But our audience is number 3. And this is This is my challenge to you, actually. The audience is a real opportunity to help us. The more we understand our audience, the more we can move forward and communicate a little bit more effectively. And that's what we're going to do a deep dive in today. So we have you, like you, the speaker, and then the audience, and combined, we can have a very powerful, I hope powerful, this is my proposition, unity team, really, and create an us, since we have a variety of pictures and thoughts about that. There are 4 communications drivers that we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into today to help us understand that audience. There's a big picture communicator, communication style. So this is how we like to transmit or how we like to receive information, receive a presentation. And think about yourself on this and think about your audiences as we go through these 4. It's a very high level look right now. Make notes as you see fit. It's a high level look at these 4 styles, but consider yourself and consider your audience. And please, any questions, type them into the chat. And Caroline, just interrupt me if we have an interesting thing to say.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, good. Okay, so our first style, and these are not in any particular order, aside from the fact that they're alphabetical. So no one is more important than the other. And we are most likely a combination of the 4. Big picture communicators like to understand why. Why are we looking at this workshop? What is the purpose of today? The purpose of today is to help you communicate more effectively by understanding who it is that you're talking to. So by doing a deep dive on your audience, hopefully you can understand how to communicate, or you have some more tools in your toolbox to help you communicate a little bit more effectively. The overarching vision, what's the overall purpose of this? And then if we look at the details, this image is interesting when it popped up, all the little intricate work on a building. They want to know what. What is it I need to know? What is it I need to do? What's the pain point? What are the numbers? What are the stories? What are the tools that I can use? So tools such as stories or information or humor, if you want to use that, quotations. How can we pull this all together? What are the little components of it? So in helping you communicate effectively, I'm going to provide information on 4 different communication styles. And I'm going to help you. And the other bit of information is each audience is roughly a quarter of these 4 styles. And if we don't hit all 4, then we're missing out on 25 or 50% of our audience. And that's not really what we want to achieve as communicators. I hope you're with me on that one. The process is how. Now the process communicators like to know, how should I do something? What is it I need to do? Well, in crafting a speech, you look at your purpose, you look at your audience, you look at what it is you want to say. You have that introduction, body, conclusion, call to action. What parts can you put in there? Where would you put the stories? How can I craft a speech, or how can I craft a communication? Which brings us to our relationship people, and they really want to know, who's in my audience? Who are they? How is their weekend? What's their name? What are they feeling? How's their cat? How's their dog? How's their perhaps parent, spouse, child, neighbor? How's their, when they go into a grocery store, how are you? And they actually want to know the answer to how are you. They're not like many people who just ask the question and then keep moving. Relationship people, for them, it's very important to understand the people. So this is our audience, but I'm going to shrink it down a little bit and suggest or share an experience with you about myself working in a team. So there's a team, perhaps some of you are on your executives, where you'd have 7 people on your executive. Each person has a different style of communicating. And sometimes when we hold meetings or even Toastmaster meetings, if we propose something, our big picture communicator needs to understand the why are we doing this in order to listen further. The details person likes to know what are the specific components that they would need to know. I'll give you an example in a few seconds. And the process person needs to know, okay, we're going to do this. What needs to be done first? What needs to be done second? Details people are sometimes called business analysts. Process people are sometimes called business project managers. Relationship people can be found in sales, and they like to know, how are you? So at the beginning of a meeting, perhaps they'd ask everybody how they're doing. How was your weekend? Okay, let's move forward. And the four are equally important in order to get anything done, in order to move forward, and to help us the opportunity to communicate a little bit more effectively. I'm going to pause here. Are we okay for questions? We're good? Any questions at all about any of this? Is it two up there? The big pictures are okay, but the details are a little, give me some more details. I do have an example for you.
Nothing in the chat.
Okie dokie, thank you. So with that very, very brief introduction and understanding no questions, David's going to launch a poll for us. And the question is, which communication style do you most identify with? And as you think about that, you might identify with two or three. That's totally normal, but we tend to have a preference. So just think of one situation and think of one preference that you might have. And we're going to share that information with you. What else can I say? If you have questions, please type them into the chat, although this is timed poll. There are no right or wrong answer. Well, every answer is right. Think of it that way. This will help us understand who we're talking to. Oh, only 3 people responding? 5 people? No big pictures whatsoever in this room. Nobody wants to know what the overall purpose is. I do have a story. We have a couple more seconds on this poll. We have 45. So one time I taught this this lesson, and it was a room full of people who should have responded very details oriented. They were a room full of analysts dealing with numbers and information and the facts and looking at spreadsheets and looking for trends, very focused on that. And I fully expected them to identify as details. I fully expected about 60% of the audience to be details, to be perfectly honest. And what came back was more big picture and relationship communicators. And I don't know if that was the case or if that's just what they felt was the right answer. But there are no right answers. Every answer is right, I should say. So we've got more relationship. Is that what that poll result says, David? We've got more relationship. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Okay, so everybody, how are you today? Tell me, how are you? Excellent. Alex is A-okay. Excellent. Anybody else? I think Ruth was okay because she said she was at the very beginning. Great to see all of you.
Yes, I am, but it has been a nerve-wracking week, so.
Oh, so it's good that it's good that the week's over and you're at your conference. That's excellent. Okay, we'll just move forward a little bit. I'm going to close the poll here. So here's the summary slide. We know the challenge or the opportunity to communicate effectively with our content and our tools, an opportunity to build credibility and trust, to connect and understand our audience. Our tools are the content and our delivery style, what makes us unique and how we would present it. And then our audience is unique. So we have those 4 styles, and it can be difficult to communicate with all 4 styles, but that's what we're going to challenge you with doing. I have a very brief speech. So I challenge you to listen with your listening skills and try to identify the big picture comment, or the comment for the details person, the comment for the process person, and the comment for the relationship person. Okay, are you good? So big picture is looking at why, details what, process how, and then relationship who. They ask other questions, but that's a kind of a broad arching. Are you ready to go? Ready? Listen, it's only about a minute. I'll try to speak slowly. So this is a very brief speech that I put together. I'm not presenting it to our club, but anyway, if I was to present this to my club, so I'm a member of Speaking from Experience Advanced Toastmasters. The Advanced Toastmasters clubs are always looking for new members, as are every Toastmaster club. So this is a speech that hypothetically I could propose to my club as a way to help us attract new members. We are good at facilitating workshops and evaluations. However, our challenge is finding new members. Let's combine the two, facilitating workshops and evaluations, attracting new members, to create an exceptional workshop series. The details. On the second Wednesday of every month, we will host a workshop and evaluation session. We will promote it amongst District 60 and District 86 to attract guests. It will be free to attend. We can position it as an open house, and it will run from 7 to 9 p.m., our regular meeting times. Everyone's free to attend. We will start the second Wednesday of May and run all the way to the end of the year, the second Wednesday in December. Our Vice President of Education is on board and ready to schedule those workshop presenters. Our Vice President of Public Relations is ready to promote this event. This is an opportunity for everyone to meet new people, to expand our digital communication skills, to reach new audiences, and most of all, to have fun. Who will volunteer first? Who will volunteer second? Let's get going. There we go. So, question for you. Which sentence do you think, and would you like me to reread it? I can reread it if that would be helpful. Are you okay? Which part do you think was for the big picture thinker? And you can put these into the chat, or you can unmute yourself and speak. Big picture? Details? You can jump in at any time. Process?
Okay, I'll jump in. Okay, Michelle?
Perfect. Thank you, Marilyn.
I'm going to go and start with the one that I think I am, because it's easier to pick. But it was a very small little bit that I caught, but it was bold. It was, and to have fun.
There you go.
That would be for that.
So what kind of communicator would you be? Are you?
I'm a relationship communicator, but I actually have a lot of the others. I'm also big picture. And it's funny that I have a hard time picking it out though, but that's because I include the details a lot of the problem. Why is the problem? We have a problem with raising. So all the first bit, when there was you were going on about, we were a club that we have workshops and we do this and we need to have new members. So why is we need to get new members. And the big picture is to have an open house to solve our problem. And that's the why. And so that was a whole little bit at the beginning. Details is when you're the details of, so we have a problem and how we're solving it is part of the details, but it's when and the group and the dynamics and such. And I couldn't get the process, which was wrapped up in all of it. And that's why I couldn't do one comment.
Alex found the process. Did you, Alex? I saw your hand go up. Thank you, Marilyn.
Either I'm a process communicator or I just really noticed that because I'm actually looking to do workshops for that exact reason in the next year. But the process was the little bit where you talked about, okay, so this is how it's going to work. This is the itinerary. We're going to start here. We're going to do it every 2 weeks. We're going to have these kind of people come in. These people will present, and then that's how we're going to get the new members. So it's kind of like a step-by-step of like exactly how it's going to work.
Absolutely. And how could that, just as you're talking, I'm evaluating it, and how could that be a little bit clearer? Do you have any suggestions for that? I only did it 5 times before today. What?
Maybe if it was a little bit slower so I could have time to write it down, but other than that, I mean, it was clear, it was understandable. It just, I don't remember it in the exact structure.
A little bit slower, I think you're right. And I think I could have given dates. If you'd like to sign up for the May workshop, please speak to our VP Ed. I was trying not to use any names, specific names, but to say sign up by April 30th. Contact our VP Ed by April 30th for May. Contact him for June by this date. Probably would have been a little bit more memorable, maybe. Ruth, did you have a comment? You look like you're thinking. Deep thought. No? Okay, and JD, you like that? You want timelines in there? Process?
Oh yeah, you hit all of them. If you were to analyze with bank or disc or any of them, or you did hit all of them. With well, a little bit at the end, to be a little bit more clear as to what the benefit of the members would be for volunteering. But you gave everybody a great reason to jump in. It was a really well-rounded, perfectly done.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to put it all together to help you see how it would work in a brief 1-minute table topic in a way. Because I have one for you to go into breakout rooms and do, and to then that's the challenge, right? To pull the 4, just one sentence for the 4 communicators into a task or a challenge. as the table topics. And we're lucky we don't have too many people here today, so this will be really great. So maybe you can do 2 of them in your breakout rooms. And your audience, I'll put the slides up in a second, but your audience is your Toastmaster group. So would you pick a Toastmasters club and think of something you'd like to try to persuade them to do. So in a way, it's persuasion, but appeal to that big picture communicator. Include some details for your detail communicator. You could include process, sign up by this date, and then the relationship would be the connection point. And you have a little bit more time than that. You have some time, and you also have the feedback, the collaborative feedback from everyone. Before you go, I'm going to ask, what's a technique to reach your audience? Like, what's a technique to build relationship? If we think about jokes, or if we think about stories, or if we think about information, what's a technique, Marilyn, you identified as relationship? What's something you really like to see in your speeches? Or somebody else?
I like names.
Okay.
When you're saying you're trying to voice it, but I like names. You put names in there, I can relate. Not that I can remember the names, but.
Okay. I just tried to, because it was a specific club, I was trying not to.
Yeah, I got it.
You made up the names. Okay, and for process, what do you like to hear, Alex? What kind of techniques work for you? Deep thoughts. Oh my God, she asked me a question.
I'd say probably having a diagram would help, just or just some sort of visual to follow along with.
Okay.
Because the process is usually some sort of a list of steps.
Yep.
So having multiple sensory streams.
Okay. So you like slides then when we do the presentations? That's good. Okay, perfect. Okay, data. Who's data? JD, is that you? Were you talking about data? Nope. Elsa, Michelle, Ruth? Nope. David, you're data, but he doesn't want to talk because he's running the Zoom master controls.
So Michelle,
Yes.
it's Michelle Briggs.
Briggs?
I wanted to get in with the first one, adding to Marilyn's comment. I just wanted to say one thing that I love in a speech at the beginning, especially, is the pitch, that attention grabber.
Good. Okay. So you'll come up with a great pitch then. Pitches are wonderful, aren't they? And then there's the other question, which is more important, the introduction or the conclusion. There's always that question when we're putting together speeches, right? So yeah, okay, the pitch for a relationship. And big picture? We didn't have any big picture, did we? Well, that could be the pitch, actually. The overarching, what are we trying to achieve here? And then include some details for your detail. They tend to like facts, information, facts, that sort of thing, when you're communicating with them. But notice also, have you noticed that you communicate in a style to which you resonate with? Has anybody noticed that? Or is that too deep of a question for you? Yeah. And then would you have a miss with the other people? I notice I've had that problem before. Maybe. Okay, are you good to go into a breakout room? Any questions about this? I'm going to put the slide up, but as David's organizing us, do you have any questions about this? And here it is, 60-second table topic. You can have it as a group, so 1 sentence for each of the 4 communication drivers. These were topics that we came up with, preparing for an end of the year party, which I know everybody's so super excited that maybe we'll be able to meet in person. Perhaps sponsor you for a fundraiser. You're going to do a run, you're going to raise some money for something, or you're going to do a bike ride and raise some money for something, and you'd like your Toastmaster Club to sponsor you. Perhaps it's to encourage everyone to bring one guest to a meeting. Perhaps it's one meeting, perhaps it's every meeting. Perhaps you have another topic. If you'd like to pick a totally different audience, that's completely fine. The whole purpose of this is to help you apply those 4 communication drivers to a brief 30 to 60-second presentation. What do you think? Can you do it? Questions? Answers? Does any of that need clarification? Is it confusing, or we good to go? Thumbs up if you're good to go. There's that reaction button. It's not very visible on my screen because I've got multiple screens up. Okay, David, are you good to go? We'll move.
Yep. We'll have 3 rooms, on average 2 to 3, 3 rooms, maybe 3 to 4 persons each.
Okay, and we'll go for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
About the 10 minutes, and then we'll pull you back. So there'll be a reminder saying that you'll be coming back. And then when you come back, please share with us. And however you want to do that, 60 seconds, if all of you want to communicate, or if one of you wants to do that, one of you wants to share, please come back and share. Is 10 minutes enough time, do you think, for this? So you would collaborate with each other. Okay, yep, you're good? Okay, 10 minutes, there we go. Zoom master control, David, hitting the buttons. Look forward to seeing you in a few minutes. And you can pick a different topic if you like, it's totally fine. There we are. Okay. Oh, we've got some great, thank you everyone. That was so much. Well, I got to sneak in and it was really cool to hear what you're talking about. So who would like to go first? Room number 1, perhaps. Which was Marilyn, I think, is a speaker. Yep, her hand's up.
Yeah.
Marilyn, Michelle, and Ruth.
Yeah.
Michelle. Not me, Michelle. Michelle Biggs.
Go, Marilyn.
Okay. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. For us to move forward, the great thing for us to do would be to have a year-end party. And for that, we need to have some funds. So I need to motivate you all to participate and to contribute some money so we can have this party. It'll be a lot of fun for us to bring us all together. Now, I think we should actually, and there's been some discussion, and we'd like some people to be friends, some family. We're not going to limit just to our Toastmaster members already, because we would like to grow from it. So we're going to need to also have a team to help organize how we're going to bring this forward and to bring people together to bring the money so that we can get a time, a place, and know what we can actually afford. So we'll start with getting a team and then we'll get the funds. Thank you. It'll be fun.
Thank you very much, Marilyn, Ruth, and Michelle. And what do we think? What worked? What was her? Did we notice her big picture comment, her details comments, her process comments, and her relationship comments? Did anybody pay attention to those? Probably her teammates. What do you think? No comments. We will have fun. The last comment you said sounded like relationship to me. And the first part sounded like the big picture. What was the first part that you said, Marilyn? You have to unmute yourself. Otherwise, we're just reading your lips. But if you unmute yourself, then we'll hear you. Minor.
Yeah, it's a little detail there. Details. So I was saying to keep us moving forward or something like that, moving us forward, we need to plan our year-end party and to get some funding for that, something like that.
Yeah, and at the beginning you mentioned the fun and the importance of getting together.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much. Is that okay? And then we'll go to group number 2, team number 2. Who's going to speak for team number 2? Is that Alex? Are you the speaker or?
Okay. I'll do it.
Okay, awesome.
And do I have a time limit? Can I have like 2-3 minutes?
1 minute.
1 minute.
You can find it, Elsa, if you wanted to speak as well. It doesn't, whatever works for you. 1 minute. She's going to put the yellow up at 1:45, right?
I have 1 minute, so I'll be putting the yellow at 45 seconds and then the red at 1 minute.
Okay.
If you go over a little bit, it's okay, but try not to.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a very important question. When was the last time you went a full day without speaking? Not a single word out of your mouth. Was it today, yesterday, last week, or perhaps never? Here's what I'm trying to tell you. Speaking, probably an important skill. But you're in Toastmasters, and you already know that. You already know that speaking can get you a dream job. That speaking can get you that dream partner. That speaking can allow you to express yourself and get the jumble of thoughts in your head out into the world for all to see. But you know who doesn't know that? Your friends. The ones that are not in Toastmasters. The ones that didn't go and make an icebreaker speech. The ones that didn't make a table topic. The ones that aren't learning this valuable skill that could change their entire life. So give your friend the gift of speaking. and bring them to a meeting next week so that they too can share the wealth. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alex, and group number 2. Now, what do we think of that presentation? Any comments for him? Did he hit the 4 communication styles? Did he miss any? Did he get them all? You'd be so quiet. Oh.
That was awesome, Alex. I noticed everything. It was about relationship and the process, and you tackled the detail of who doesn't know that, okay, our friends, and then that will stick with. I mean, was a great presentation.
Okay. I thought you were going to bring in ancient Greek philosophers there, Alex. You didn't do it.
There was not enough time for the fluff and the extravagant details.
One of the members in our club likes going back 2,000, 3,000 years, starting there and then coming forward. So you and he could probably have some good conversations. Something in the chat?
In the chat here, we've got great speech, Marilyn and Alex, from our Zoom guru, David.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, they were great. How did you find that experience? I'm a little bit curious. Was it sometimes the question of asking to communicate to the 4 styles it's not difficult, but it's difficult. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's we can do it, but it's paying attention to those 4 styles, and it's usually one that slips. But I hoped with Toastmasters that you'd be okay with that. Did you? Any feedback on that you might want to share?
JD says it was a great process.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, JD. Okay, so we're going to move forward. I'm just going to summarize what it was. So we looked at, thank you. I hope, try that. I do challenge you with the opportunity to try to hit those 4 communication styles and try not to have, so I've sat in presentations recently, within the past week, where somebody's speaking and it might be very data heavy, or it might be a lot of stories, or it might be all about them. There are different ways that we can miscommunicate. And so this is just a high level look at 4 different types of audiences. So it's not really a Myers-Briggs and it's not really a DISC, although our personalities come out in our communication style. So it's all kind of layered in there. But just to break it apart and to look at the 4 styles and the information they need to know, we need to know, and how we need to receive it. So there are different ways that we can do this using data or stories or facts, or there are ways that we can combine and reach 2 audiences at once. So big picture, relationship are often together. Data and process sometimes get lumped together. So if we can, and we have our delivery and our content, our purpose is so important. We have to know why we're doing it and what we want our audience to do at the end, purpose and call to action, and then layer this all in. And really a challenge to create one effective message for everybody in the audience. And I think you can do that in 4 or 5 sentences. I think it's possible, but that's your challenge. The chat box just lit up. Caroline, is there something in there? It flashes on my screen.
Elsa asks, where can we read or learn more about these communication styles?
That's a great question, Elsa. My computer. But you wouldn't want to be doing that. So I can share this deck with you, but I can send you some information if you're interested. I can certainly do that. And I have lots of information on this. I'm more than happy to share. So for the purpose of this, workshop, because it is going online, I didn't include my email address, but I'm happy to share that with you. And I do have a handout that David suggests I give you at the end. So I will share it in the chat box in a few minutes. It just provides a little bit of area where you can write in some of these questions for the different styles. So perhaps that would be something to do right now. And also on that handout, it has my email address and my club name. So feel free to send me an email, and I'm happy to share this with you, the deck, and I'm happy to share more information about the styles with you for sure. So you can think about, I mean, there are also different ways that we can define communication styles. So there's like being direct or being indirect, things about passivity. But this is just a general hopefully to break it down into 4 different clumps of people, for lack of a better term, 4 different types, and what kind of information do they need. I have lots of personal stories so far. I was talking to somebody recently and they want to know all the details, but I find, similar to what Michelle was saying, if it's too much in the details, it stresses me out a little bit, to be honest. So I can get there, but I have to be prepared to get there. So I'd rather be up here at the big picture, whereas the details kind of like, okay, I'll talk about that later. I can type that up in an email, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. Conversely, detail wants all the details, not the big picture. So it gives opportunity for stress. Any other questions, or Caroline, we're good?
We're good.
Okay, awesome. So let's move forward. So at the end of the day, knowledge is power. And I hope that you feel that you gained a little bit of knowledge today. And I hope that you gained a little bit of insights into how you can move forward and communicate a little bit more effectively with your audience, how you can draft the messages to reach your audience and be effective in that respect. And I am happy to share more information with you at any point in time. So I'm going to hand control over to Caroline in a second, and I will, so there's my thank you slide, multinational thank you slide. Thank you very much for taking the opportunity to come and participate today. I'm more than happy to talk to you about this topic, and I will, as I transfer control over to Caroline, I will put the handout worksheet in the chat box, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Go and communicate well. Think about those 4 styles. Think about the big picture. What's the purpose? Think about your details person. What are the facts? Think about your process. How do I do what you're asking me to do? And think about your relationship person and ask how they are and really listen for the answer. And you will have a very powerful communications as you go forward. So enjoy the rest of your day and watch those international speech contestants today and see what they come up with. Thank you very much. And over to you, Caroline. Thank you very much to Caroline and David for their help today.
Thank you, Michelle, for an engaging and interactive workshop. Thank you, David, for being our Zoom producer guru and for providing access to your Zoom account for today. Enjoy the remainder of the conference. This session is adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good job, everyone.
Enjoy your day. Thank you.
you.
Lovely working
Thanks, guys.
this morning. Ciao.